For those of you who don't know me, my name is Gregory Fisher. No, I want you to read it, not me. I've been a therapist. I've been a substance abuse counselor. I've been someone who taught court-ordered violent offenders anger management and domestic violence prevention. I've been a practitioner. I've been a speaker, writer, right? So all that stuff. Here are the two messages that are appropriate in every one of those circumstances, in every one of those relationships. Two things. Clarity. Who am I? What do I want? What must I do to get it? Clarity and boundaries. Every one. Virtually no clients ever come to see me that they don't need to work on boundaries, because in our society, we're so bad at them. And I'm not sure why entirely, except that something about the process of being raised and raising, so hey, happy Mother's Day. But something about the process of raising children, somehow we teach them not to have good boundaries. And so it's an adult job, I'm afraid to say. That's something that you have to do after you get grown and go, okay, what would that look like to have appropriate boundaries? So first, let me see if I can do this. Oh, look. So look, that's cool. All right. First thing, the definition of the word authentic, right? And this is what Diane's going to, and everybody else is going to be talking about this month. What does it mean to be authentic? Of undisputed origin, genuine. I like it. These are the 7 intrinsic qualities of the authentic self. Actually, there's only 6 because Diane, the 7th one, is a mystery, as you know, but she's going to tell us later. I'm not going to read these because it would be most of my time, but as you can see, it's wholeness, reverence, fearlessness, integrity, humility, equanimity, right? So you got that. Here's what's important that we understand. And David's going to read that reading again here in a minute. But this is saying pretty much the same thing. Our clothing, right, our shell is made up of 3 things, I believe. I love a Venn diagram. Our body, our physical self, the things we do. Our mind, our intellectual self, the thoughts we think, the things we know, how we process information, right? And our heart, our emotional self, our feelings, right? So that's the shell of us. That's the personality. That's the part that makes us unique. See, we are all the one thing, but we come in different packages. This is the package. Does that make sense? Now, what's that? That's the higher self, the spirit that David was reading about. It's the part of Ernest Holmes that makes it really, in some ways, clearer than, for me, any other teaching, any other religious system. That we get this, that at the very core of us is that thing that is spirit, that is one with all, that is in fact God. And it's here, and it's clothed like that. And see how it works? That spirit part of us should be an in and out flow. It's informing us of what to do, of what to think, of how to feel. See, it's our reference point. Now, the problem is, of course, and all those things relate to one another, of course, also. Our body is going to inform how we think, is going to inform how our thinking is going to inform how we feel. It's all, it's all this back and forth. So what this ends up being is so our body is what we do. This is going to come in a minute. Our mind is what we think. Our heart is what we feel. Our spirit is what we believe. It is what we believe. That's how it outworks into our life. What we believe will inform what we do, what we think, how we feel, right? Come on, don't fail me now. So this is the authentic self. This is it. When all of that's all lined up, When that package is really coming from this inner place of spirit, and it's all equanimity, integrity, all those 7 words, those 6 that we know right now, Diane's mystery word coming up next time. That's the authentic self. Look, we found him. We found her. There's going to be a problem. But David, would you read what you read before? Because I just think, I want to hear it again because this is Ernest Holmes, who, of course, is, our founder of this teaching. And this is what he said, and I think it's saying the same thing.
This presence, this power is at the center of all people. It's at the center of all things. But because everyone is an individual, the individual can build a wall of negative thought between themselves and that perfection. Now, this makes it difficult for the true center to come to the surface.
Ernest is saying this thing. Now, what he's talking about is, here's the problem. Here's the problem. So many times, we have no concept of this inner spirit. So this wall around that center, and it's not moving out. It's not informing. It's not guiding. It's not really giving us a sense of higher thoughts, higher feelings, higher activities, right? Problem. Now, here's the other thing. Here becomes the real issue. Brene Brown, how many of you know Brene Brown? Oh, I hate it when people ask you to raise your hand, so I won't do that again. But Brene Brown, who we love, if you've read her, it's amazing. It has so helped me to get this. What she says is, we are hardwired for connection. There's no arguing with bioscience. We want to be connected. At a cellular level, we want to have relationships, right? We need them. No man is an island. Some people are less inclined to be connected than others. I will say that. Some people need fewer connections than others. I'm someone that needs a lot. I have a lot of very close friends. My partner's like, how can you have that many close friends? Because he has like 2, But it's just a difference in us, that package, right? But we're hardwired for this. Here's the problem with that. And this is Marianne Williamson, just real quick. People crave comfort. People crave connection. People crave community. It's that bioscience. It's a part of us. Now, so connection, a relationship in which a person, thing, or idea is linked or associated with something else. All right. So here we got this guy. Remember him? The authentic self. Here becomes then a problem. Them. All those connections you just had, guess what? Every one of them comes with an opinion. Criticism, advice, counsel, judgment, sharing. We like that word here. We're sharing, right? So, right off the bat, if we're smart, we're going to have to do that. We're going to say, back off. Back off. The big problem with all those people that are coming to see me, they don't know how. They don't know how to say back off. And many times, they don't even know to say back off. Because, see, something in their upbringing or something in their way of dealing with life says everyone's opinion, everyone's advice, everyone's sharing matters more than my own thoughts, my own feelings, my own activities. Even my own concepts of my body, right? Authenticity is a collection of choices that we have to make every day. It's about the choice to show up and be real, the choice to be honest, the choice to let our true selves be seen. So see, part of this ability to have a connection is vulnerability. I have to be vulnerable. If we're this hard shell, you don't make connection. Part of authenticity is about being vulnerable. Part of connection is about being vulnerable. But then you got to look at this risk assessment we got going on here. This is the same author, right? When you stop caring what other people think, you lose your capacity for connection. When you're defined by it, you lose your capacity for vulnerability. So if I say, I don't care what you think, I'm not interested in your opinion at all. Well, now you can't even connect. But when what other people think is more important than what you think, now you're not even able to be vulnerable. There's no authenticity to share. So what's the greater risk? Letting go of what people think or letting go of how I feel, what I believe, and who I am? See, this is the risk equation. Daring to set boundaries, here we go, is about having the courage to love ourselves even when we risk disappointing others. Now that, my friends, for many people, and maybe all of us, is a very risky, option. I'm going to have to disappoint you. How do we do it? Boundaries, a line that marks the limits of an area, a dividing line. A limit of a subject or sphere of activity. So what are boundaries? Right? They're real. Where you end and I begin. Me. Not me. Me. Not me. Me. Not me. I'm going to tell you, it's hard. And you know what's the hardest, mothers? Me, not me. Me, not me. It's hard. I've never been a mother, but I've had one. Now, I happen to have had an interesting one because she had no need whatsoever to be me or to tell me what to do. In fact, as an adult, there were many times that I would say to her, could you give me some advice? And she'd say, no, I have no opinion about what you should do. It was kind of refreshing because I had all these other friends that were like, my mother. And I was like, I have no concept of that. So here they all come. This is that guy, and all this stuff's coming at him. Guess what we first do? That's a boundary. That's a boundary. And look, we're deflecting every bit of that. Pia Melody, a healthy boundary creates controlled vulnerability. So Pia Melody, just so you know, she wrote a wonderful book called Facing Codependence. If you have codependent tendencies, and you do, just FYI. I know no one who doesn't. But here's what she says. Your first response when you come to this and you go, I'm sick and tired of believing everyone else's opinion and advice and counsel and sharing is more important than my own thoughts, my own feelings, my own activity. The first thing you do is you do this. This is called a solid wall. This is that person saying, back off. No. You start cutting off relationships. And sometimes you will have to. But see, when you first start developing boundaries, they're very solid. Back off. But as she said, a healthy boundary creates controlled vulnerability. What's that? See how they're softened now? She calls it semipermeable. Semipermeable. This is someone that's getting it and they're maturing in this idea of, I can allow people to have opinions, advice, sharing, criticism, even judgment. I just don't have to accept it. I just don't have to believe it. Because why? Because I know who I am. I know the authentic me. So if you remember nothing else about what I say today, here's the money shot, what we call. Lynn knows what the money shot is. Here's the money shot. Are you ready for it? When someone is telling me what to do, what to think, what to feel, and what to believe, remember those 4 areas, they are invading my boundaries. When someone tells me what to do, what to think, what to feel, and what to believe, they are invading my boundaries. Wow. Think about it. How many times have you said what you should do, what you need to think, If I were you, I would, oh, I can't believe you feel that way. What? You believe what? You go to what church? You believe what? Here's the thing. Anytime you hear that, those words are very loaded words. Guard yourself. You need, if they're preceded with you need, you must, you should, you ought. What would be good would be, see all those things. What's following after that is a moment where you need to go, all right, I can hear. At first you might have to say, no, stop, not interested. But then you get to a place where you can start going, I hadn't thought of it that way. You might be right. Oh, let me consider that. And then you get to. Now, right off the bat, you may know, not me. Not me. Me, not me. Here's me. Sometimes they may actually be right. It's something I did need to consider. Thank you. Thank you. Now, here's the other thing. Oh, boundaries go both ways. Look at me. I think I know something. I know something. Why? Because I've come to this teaching. I've got degrees. I've got, I get paid for this. Boundaries go both ways. This is my therapist. By the way, every therapist should have a therapist, I'm convinced. Every counselor should have a counselor. Because if not, that's how we really get all up in our head thinking we know something. My counselor about a year and a half ago said to me, who do you become when I hold on to the idea that I know what's best for another person's life? It was the hardest thing. Look, I'm going to tear up. It was the hardest thing anyone ever said to me. Who do you become when you hold on to the idea that you know what is best for another person's life? Hey, and it's not just friends. It's not just acquaintances. For me, it wasn't just clients. It was the person sleeping beside me. It was the child that you might have raised. Who do you become when you hold on to the idea that you know what is best for someone else's life? Here's who I found out I became. I became a know-it-all. I became a manipulator. Sometimes I became a liar. See, because I knew what they needed to do, so I told them what I thought they needed to hear. And it was never quite a lie, but it was always never the truth. The list goes on and on and on, and I won't bore you with it. But I want you to think about that question. See, and here's the reason we must get this part. Because if you feel you're entitled to violate other people's boundaries, they absolutely feel like they can invade yours too. Right? Because what's that called? It's called the law of attraction, the law of reciprocity. What I put out is what comes back to me. If I feel like I get to tell David who to be, then David gets to tell me too. And I'm not going to. I hope. Listen, I urge you to write this down. Who do I become when I hold on to the idea that I know what is best for another person's life? You do not. I do not. See, and in this circumstance, I was being very codependent in a relationship where I recall saying back to her, he's a drunk. I know what he needs to do. He needs to stop drinking. She said, you do not know. I said, he got a DUI. You do not know what he needs. He's going to kill himself for someone else. You do not know his journey. You do not know. you do not know. And to the capacity or to the extent that you believe you know, you are in danger. I am in danger, let alone what's happening to this other person. I am in danger. I'm going to close really quickly. I don't know if any of you know this concept, ho'oponopono. It's a Hawaiian or a Polynesian concept. It's very complex. Well, actually, it's very simple, but it's more complex when you look into it, right? So there's way more to it than just this. But this is the ho'oponopono prayer. I am sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. As a counselor, as a therapist, as someone that you might be paying to come teach you these things, I try to start every session with this prayer. I try to start every session with going this: there's not a problem. And it's to the extent that you believe there's a problem and I believe there's a problem that I'm going to start trying to tell you what to do, who to be, what to believe, what to think, what to feel, and that doesn't help you or me. It encourages me to keep being this person that thinks I know what's best for other people's lives, and it encourages you to not have to find that place inside that already knows. My job is to help you discover that. And to start out by saying, I'm sorry that I think there's a problem. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. That's the way it works. Boundaries. Boundaries. They are the framework for authenticity. If we don't have boundaries, you cannot get it and you cannot hold on to it. And so it is.